Continuing from part 1, let's talk about the role of Jnana Yog in our lives and its purpose. Tulsidas says, Ram Bhagat Jag Chari Prakara Sukriti Chareu Anag Udara. There are 4 kinds of people who do good deeds with big hearts in order to make a connection with the highest purpose in their life. And Lord Krishna says, Chaturvida bhajante mam sukritino Arjun arto jijyasurtharthi jnani cha bharatarsham. He says, O Bharat Shrestha, people worship me, remember me in 4 different ways, for 4 different purposes. And those are Artha, the distressed, Jijyasu, the curious, Artharthi, one who has a material need, and Jnani, the one who has knowledge. So people come to me, he says, either when they are distressed or they are curious, they just want to see how they can improve their life, or they are interested in improving their lot. They want something done. They have an arth, a purpose, an objective. And the 4th category is people who actually know and understand and have the wisdom. And they come to me, they remember me for a totally different reason. And Tulsidas says, Chahu chatur kahu naam adhara jnani prabhu hi visesi pyara. He says, of the 4, the jnani, the one who already has the knowledge, is particularly beloved of me, of the Lord. So Jnana Yog is the path that enables us to use our knowledge, work on the path of intellect and wisdom, and acquire it and apply it in our life. Lord Krishna also says, Ye yatha mam prapadyante tas tathaiva bhajamyaham. And he says that just as people remember me, think of me, so do I remember and think of them. So if someone is remembering me because they need something done, I will do it for them. If someone remembers me because they are trying to gain knowledge and understand me, then I will give them the understanding of myself. And thus is Jnana Yoga born. Let's talk about what Jnana Yoga really means. What are some things that would define the path of Jnana Yoga? I believe that first of all, there is no dogma in Jnana Yoga. No one gives me a defined solution that this is how the world works. I have to find it for myself. I have to find the answers through direct experience. I cannot read that in a book or see that in a movie. The purpose of Jnana Yoga is to separate the truth from the illusion. As Goswami Tulsidas says, until the knot is untied, the illusion will not go away and I will not find permanent peace. Understanding the true wisdom by connecting to the highest level of conscious wisdom that is available to me and using it in my daily life, I can begin to see why things happen the way they do. I can begin to appreciate what most others are not able to see. And that is what Jnana Yoga helps me to attain. Applying these learnings, this wisdom in daily life by becoming aware of myself, my surroundings, and my interactions, my behaviors, my thoughts. allows me to work myself up the path of Jnana Yog and find the ultimate truth in my life right now. Developing an observer's perspective. We talk about this later, but Lord Krishna says very clearly that in order to become a jnani, I need to be able to separate myself from my environment and see myself from an outside perspective. Just as Jesus says, be in this world but not of it. Too often in our lives, we are so engrossed, so engaged in the things that we are involved in that we lose sight of ourselves, the inner self. And so we lose the ability to gain knowledge and apply it in the moment when we are lost in the rush of emotions. Separation from the material reality and communing with the conscious reality, which leads me to the state of kaivalya or pure liberation. So Jnana Yoga is the path which leads me to liberation because I learn what the true reality is and I learn how to commune with it. And once I've learned how to commune with it, I can gain access to that reality, that truth, that place of permanent peace any time in my life, at any given moment, in any given situation, and disengage from the actual material reality, from the anger perhaps, from the emotions that are engaging my attention. And that transforms everything in my life. And faith with knowledge. Jnana Yoga is all about knowledge. But ultimately, we live on faith. I wake up in the morning with the faith that I'll have a complete day. I drive on the street with faith that everyone is following the rules. We cannot live our life without faith. But the path of Jnana Yoga says, I live with faith, but with knowledge as well. I have faith, but I understand. I know how the system works. So a practitioner of Jnana Yoga is one who is consciously aware of this flow of information upward and wisdom downward, and is able to apply it in every situation in life. So I like to say that the practice of Jnana Yoga is about creating an information superhighway that enables a true understanding of your environment. I have the jnana, the wisdom to understand what's going on and why, which then allows me to connect with the highest source of wisdom and thereby transform everything about me and my entire life. So a Jnana Yogi, therefore, is one who is able to make this connection quickly. When I need to, I can immediately change the situation very quickly and in the moment. So a Jnana Yogi doesn't take half an hour to run away from anger, to get to a state of peace. He or she can do it very quickly because he knows the way. And he can do that in the moment. When we find our emotions rising and our behavior turning in a direction we would rather not, too often that intellect does not kick in till hours after the incident has occurred, or definitely seconds after I've done something I really should not have. But a Jnana Yogi can quickly make this connection in the moment before he or she does something that he might regret later on. So the journey of a seeker is beginning with self-awareness, understanding what I am, who I am, how I am, and then using that knowledge to master my behaviors, by mastering my feelings and emotions, by mastering my intellect, my mind, and being in charge using the wisdom that I have access to. And I do that through introspection. I need to look inside to understand how this entire framework works. And it is very helpful to live consciously. We'll talk about this briefly later on. But by being conscious in what I do, we all live our lives. We all do the things we do and move on. But a conscious person is one who sees what goes on in his life, what he does, and therefore is in much better control of what happens to him and what he does by living consciously. And then growth. Jnana Yoga is a path of growth. As we learn, we grow mentally, intellectually, spiritually, emotionally. So the journey of a seeker is ultimately about growth. Let's talk about self-awareness. The first rule of self-awareness is know thyself. I need to understand myself. I can do that by observing my behavior, by understanding my cognitive filters. We talked very briefly about how my beliefs affect my desires and attitudes, which affect my thoughts and feelings in any given moment, which affects my behavior. All of these are filters that are programmed in the neuronal maps of my brain in terms of sub-schemas, and they affect everything I do. I hear only a part of what's happening in my environment because these filters hide things from me. And everything that I say is not heard by you because you have your filters. So when two people are interacting, both their filters are affecting the flow of communication. And so we often find situations where people in the same meeting have totally different recollections of what happened because each was experiencing that interaction through their own set of filters. Seeing yourself in action in the moment is very important, and there are techniques to do so, to improve my ability to do so. And understanding your relationship with your environment. What is it that drives you? What are the things that turn on certain filters in your brain so that there are things that you don't even hear, or there are things that there are words, there are gestures, there are things, there are people that immediately create a very strong reaction in you. What are those things? And then why? That is what self-awareness is about. I just talked about two people, each having their filters interacting. Only a trained observer who can watch the two of them can truly have the perspective that says the two of you are not really communicating because A and B think they are. It's just that the messages are being garbled by each person's filters. In chapter 13, Lord Krishna says, and this is a good way to understand Jnana Yoga. He says, Kshetra Kritagyoho evam antaram jnana chakshusaha bhut prakriti moksham chaye viduhu yanti te param. He says that by discriminating between the observer and the observed, by understanding the difference, people can understand nature, can move toward knowledge, jnana, understanding and wisdom of what surrounds them and how they interact with the surroundings, which leads to yanti te param, which takes them to the supreme. So he is saying, if you want to reach me, if you want to have perfect gyan, you need to be able to differentiate between the observer and the observed. What happens in our lives in most moments is we get so engrossed in what's going on in the material world that we discombobulate the observer and the observed. We cannot see the difference. We cannot separate ourselves. And therefore, we cannot truly see what's going on.